Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Massive day yesterday with big results in the VCT, but also big drama emerging on the Bleed esports side. We know that Steel has been talking some trash on Yay over the last couple of weeks, and in fairness over the last year or so. Now it's the turn of Bleed's Crazyguy, player that was recently benched, effectively made inactive from their starting roster, calling out Yay. Yay then responded and says he's basically lying on this whole scenario. What is going on in that team behind the scenes? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, from Jake here, I wondered when we were going to hear more from Jake really on this story, because we know that he confirmed the other day that he was going to retire from competitive play. That now no longer seems to be the case, and I think this is understandable because, you know, in the heat of the moment, he was, understandably emotional over the situation, what happened on Cloud9, and wondered, whether he should even continue in esports. But he's made his mind up that actually, you know what, we can continue this career. So, as he says, want to clarify that I do not intend to retire from esports permanently, more so I am taking a much needed mental break from social media and competing for now. I still want to compete, I'm still hungry. I want everyone to know that I've enjoyed the grind I've put in and everyone I've met in esports. Hopefully you'll be able to continue to create good memories with so many people. With that being said, I'm taking this time to focus on my health, my mental health, personal development, with the intention of returning to competitive play. Look forward to continuing my journey in esports. So quite the change of heart really from the other day when he said that he regrets even getting into esports and thinks that he shouldn't have done it in the first place and isn't going to ever play again. I think Jake is good enough to play again. So, I'm glad to see this kind of change of heart to some degree, but I guess it raises questions on, when he's going to potentially return, but wishing the best, of course, for Jake, as we have done so before. Bit of drama as well. I thought this was pretty funny. So, Frost, former 100T coach, former Furia coach, he's been around a little bit. He's known as a coach that, is pretty hands-on in terms of his communication and his decision-making, and, he will be pretty brutal and blunt and honest, at least as far as he believes, when he thinks that is necessary. Now, he actually said this the other day, which I thought was quite the thing to say about your current team, but he discusses last year's Furia roster and says the following: that team was so much more talented than the roster that I currently have, which of course is Talon Esports. I would have won another title with that team if people could get out of their own way. The team was so much more talented than the roster that I currently have in the Pacific, it'll go down as one of my biggest regrets. It is what it is though. I see the DG Sun chatter everywhere, and in my opinion he is one of the biggest reasons it all fell apart. So, being pretty blunt about the internal dynamics of that last year's Furia team, but also effectively roasting his own team, right? He's like, yeah, these Talon Esports guys, they ain't even that talented. I mean, he says so much more talented than the roster, which I think is just kind of hilarious. But to be fair, Talon ain't doing bad. They're kind of winning, right? They're 3-1. So say what you want about his coaching style, it kind of must be working to some degree, and they're 3-1 in a pretty nice position to qualify through, of course, to the playoffs. Their final game, Talon, is against Team Secret, so that's not going to be easy, and if they go 3-2, then who knows what happens elsewhere, if Zeta were to, let's say, beat T1 or something. But it's still on the cards for Talon to make it through to the playoffs. Will they make it to Shanghai? Probably not, given the strength of the region, DRX, PaperX, Gen.G, and elsewhere. And Bleed, they need another win on the board, of course, because they need to get 2 to even make the playoffs, and it is possible they make the playoffs somehow, even despite their poor start. They do, however, play PaperX and DRX, so it probably ain't going to happen in the balance of probabilities. But before we get on to the Bleed drama, we've got to talk about EMEA, because again, this region continues to amaze. Some of the results that we have seen in the VCT over the last few weeks have been mind-blowing, I'm not going to lie, and this is, well, I wouldn't say this is a mind-blowing result. This is actually, in many cases, maybe even an expected result, but it is quite the development in EMEA. Firstly, we gotta say, Na'Vi, they go down to BBL. The Turkish scene right now is killing it in EMEA. It's great to see. Like, I know that FNS has talked about this, how creative the Turkish teams are, the Turkish players, the Turkish teams, and BBL, they've come up with the goods here. So Na'Vi is still in a very, comfortable position, but the development of BBL has been awesome to watch, because it wasn't that long ago that, we looked at this team and thought, well, they're capable of the occasional upset, but nothing more than that. Now they seem to be a potentially serious contender here, because Artist didn't have a good series, and Na'Vi didn't play their best Valorant, and Brave had a phenomenal performance across the 3 maps. The Ascent went Na'Vi's way, but after that it was honestly pretty comfortable for, the BBL guys. It was 13-8, and I think 13-9 on the split. Yeah, 13-9, and BBL rattled off 5 in a row to close out the game when their backs were very much so against the wall. So really impressive. I think Na'Vi, as we'll see in a second, should still be in a perfectly kind of reasonable position. I guess we'll just have a look at it now. They're 3-1, so Na'Vi should be okay, but I think Na'Vi still have to play Fnatic, don't they? So, Na'Vi at 3-2 is possible, and then I guess it's still all to play for. But on Fnatic's side, I think they are the team that arguably could and maybe should be more concerned about the way things are with them, especially because, they play Na'Vi. Both teams would want to win that game, and if Fnatic were to go to 3-3, then if results go certain other ways, it's actually possible that Fnatic don't even make it to the playoffs, which you would not have said a while ago, but it is possible. And the region is all over the place here. Apart from Giantex and Movistar KOI, every other team right now is incredibly competitive. But let's talk about how we got to this point with Fnatic, right? Because they played for esports yesterday. This was a series I was really looking forward to. I thought that it was going to be really competitive. For esports right now are very good. But I did not expect really a 2-0. Like, Fnatic, we know that they haven't been the same team as before. There was a theory, well, are they back? Because they won a couple of good series recently against not especially good opposition, I would say. So people wondered, okay, are they back, Fnatic, or are they still somewhat vulnerable? And I think we saw the answers to that yesterday absolutely emphatically. It's difficult to say what has gone wrong for this Fnatic team. Clearly the talent is still there, but in terms of preparation and confidence and other factors, they don't seem to be in the right position. And honestly, losing to Fit in the way they did was pretty embarrassing, I'm not going to lie. Just because, especially the Lotus, the split was 13-7 on Fit Esports pick, which is impressive from them, absolutely. Especially because, Alpha, Turkish player against these Turkish teams has had a rather harder time. And an interesting comp here with the Chamber on CNED. But it was the Lotus, really, because, sure, Fit Esports are a very solid team. You can lose a map to them on their map pick. Like, fine. Typically, Fnatic would never have done that, but you can. Lotus, though, was a map that Fnatic really would never lose. Like, they were the best team on this map in the world by a margin. They would seemingly never lose it. And here we have this composition here from Fit Esports. No initiator, no problem. Like, what is this comp? Jet, Omen, Sage, Viper, and Cypher. Like, it's such a strange composition that you would not expect from these guys. And it's a comp that, of course, worked, but on paper, you're thinking, like, what is going on here? So, for Fnatic to go down, I mean, they were down 12-7. They brought it back to overtime, but they still lost the overtime. So yeah, Fnatic go down again. They are honestly a far cry from the absolutely dominant force they were previously, and I wonder if they're ever going to really get back to that point. Now, like as Durka says, lost to Fit Esports 2-0, GG's, and as Boaster has said before, well, we'll get to the playoffs and then we'll deliver our best stuff. But I'm not sure on this evidence they really are ever going to get back to that point of dominance they previously were in. The question has been raised, is it a coaching staff thing? Because the team is fundamentally the same. I think, honestly, something like what we have seen would have probably happened anyway with their team. But it's got to be said, Jake, or Mini Jake, of course, Mini, he stepped down from the head coaching position to, well, he was going to leave, but he's still there. He's still the assistant coach. Elmer Putty is now the head coach. Gen.G man before. And you gotta say, Elmer Putty might be on fraud watch, I'm not gonna lie, just because he was on Gen.G. That team has now had rather good success this season after his departure, and now he's joined Fnatic, and it doesn't seem to be going especially well for them either. Now, I don't think you can say, oh, well, if you put Mini back to the head coach, they're going to be firing at all cylinders again. I don't think it's that clear at all, and there are clearly far more factors in play, but nonetheless, I mean, have a look at this. Turkey, BBL, and Fit Esports, they're 3-1. Crew are 4-0. LATAM are on top as well with Lev at 3-1. So the way these regions have gone has been pretty mind-blowing. But the other big drama of yesterday we've got to talk about, of course, is Yay and Bleed Esports, because this was kicking off yesterday and in a very interesting way. So Bleed's Crazyguy. So this guy might be pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. He's a talented player, sure, but benched by Bleed Esports not long ago, and was making comments on stream about Yay underperforming and internal friction. Now, you've got to say, there is a bit of a trend when Yay joins teams. DSG, for example, had it last year. Yay joins, and maybe Yay wasn't at fault for the things that happens. There is a correlation, maybe not a causation, but a correlation between teams that Yay is on and having, some internal strife. And maybe it's not Yay's fault. But Crazyguy says this. After the Riot Games won tourney in 2023, they had a month off, basically no practice. They can do what they want, but were asked to play some ranks to keep them in form. So Ominous, their analyst, checked on their Valorant account stats, everyone in the team had played a fair amount of ranked except Ye, who didn't play a single game the whole month, so the theory was that he wasn't even trying. I'm kind of wondering why they weren't together anyway, although Ye does explain that in a second. Apparently, Ominous, the analyst, then asked Ye about this, and Ye said that he was playing on his clone accounts, like his other accounts. Ominous then asked for his clone so he can make a report, and Ye apparently never replied. So that's what Crazyguy said on stream. Ye, though, says this, because normally I don't get involved in drama, but this is a flat-out lie. For context, accounts are all region-locked. The only way that I can change region is to have Riot do it manually. So his main account he transferred to APAC. If he flies to NA, he's forced to play on APAC servers, which is unplayable. So he plays on his other account in North America now, which is what he was playing ranked on during that time. Although he then says further down, Ominous never even asks me for my ult, and he can verify this. But either way, this is super weird to bring up and automatically assume that I'm lying about it. So yeah, pretty crazy. And then he says that actually while he was back in NA, he had a fair bit to do. Part of the reason why we had a month break is I needed to personally go back to the US to pack up my apartment out of LA and move it all out of there. Since my lease was ending and breaking it earlier would have cost an insane amount of money. I don't have any family in LA, so I needed to move all my stuff and car to Texas, a 20-hour drive before Christmas and New Year's. On top of that, I had to get my Japan visa that I was having some issues with. So yeah, Ye says, to be honest, the month break was because I had to do other stuff, and not playing ranked and whatever is just complete BS. Then he says, this will probably be the only time I respond to this. I'm not going to do any back and forth. I will say, though, that some of the things that happens, if it happened in any other profession or team, that person would instantly be kicked or fired the first time, let alone multiple other times. So he is quite clearly saying, maybe to Crazyguy or to somebody else, that there has been certain players doing things internally in that team that are, as far as he's concerned, entirely unacceptable, whether that's in practice, whether that's in, discussions on teammates, or whether that's stuff outside of the game not taken it as seriously enough. Ye says that those kind of instances would be, immediately kicked or fired. It must be pretty bad what apparently his teammates have been doing to, that he thinks they should have been immediately kicked out of the organization as a result. That apparently hasn't happened, and maybe Crazyguy was part of that. Crazyguy then actually goes on to respond with a spreadsheet. So this is the spreadsheet, it seems, of the play in ranked during this period, and we see Ye at 0. But of course that isn't really necessarily telling the whole picture as we've seen, because if he's on his other accounts, then, we've seen Ye's explanation, so I'm not really sure that revealing this spreadsheet here actually changes anything. But it's quite the story, really, and quite clearly shows that things are far from all sunshine and rainbows behind the scenes at Bleed. And Crazyguy's still on the organization, right? He's still on the roster. He's obviously a bench player right now, but he's still causing friction, and maybe Ye would imply, look, just get rid of this guy, he's got to go. But no, apparently not yet. Whether some of the frustrations that Ye has with the organization extend elsewhere, they probably do, because Ye's basically said that the staff of the team should have kicked this guy, or should have kicked somebody else, I don't know, because of this drama. So clearly Ye isn't massively impressed by the general management, the coaching staff, for the way things have been handled. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on at Bleed, but it can't be going particularly well over there, I don't imagine. And even Steel has implied that, maybe he needs to be back in business to start talking up some trash again, because, Steel was the primary Ye hater over the last couple of months, it seems. And now Crazyguy's taken over that mantle. But very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.